Greetings everyone, it is I again, T2, and today I had a video scheduled that was going to come out 7 o'clock tonight, but it's getting preempted because of the George Floyd stuff, because I figured I needed to address this while it was fresh and give you my opinion on it. So you'll have to wait until tomorrow to watch my video about a fat guy exploring a closed park with a slushie. Actually, I didn't even realize there were 31 days in May, so I didn't have anything planned for tomorrow at all, so that's kind of good that I noticed. So, a friend of mine on Facebook made a post about the George Floyd thing. He was talking about how it shouldn't be a blanket treating the entire group of police officers like fuck all cops. And my response was that I think it's not far enough, not just fuck all cops. I think we should kill all cops. And I'm going to stand by that, and I'll tell you why. There's the whole thing with Jefferson quote about, is it Jefferson? I think it's Jefferson, right? The tree of liberty has to be refreshed from time to time with the blood of tyrants and patriots. That means when you're in a democracy and you vote people into power, he was talking about politicians, but not cops, but it applies to cops too. Stuff gets out of hand. Even if you're doing, like communism. Communism doesn't work because it gets out of hand. It's a good idea on paper, but it doesn't work in the long run. Capitalism is the same thing. You take capitalism too far, eventually you run into problems where we have like 1% of people own 99% of the money. And you have to do a reset. You have to wipe out some people that have taken control. You can't just take control back by asking for it. They're not just going to give it back. Just like the Ari Shaffir quote. If you haven't seen the video where Ari Shaffir, just look up Ari Shaffir violence and it'll come up. It's the first thing he's being interviewed. He's talking about the only time in history a regime has ever changed or anything has actually been changed, it's been through violence. You don't get power back by voting it back. Once you lose power, it's really hard to get power back. So, my point is, cops are all corrupt. Even the ones that aren't corrupt, they're not willing to do anything about it. They're not willing to, like a few of them. There was a cop recently that made a kind of viral video about, he was talking about not enforcing these rules about coronavirus, people being out in the park, and he's saying like you shouldn't be arresting them, it's against their constitutional rights or something like that. I think that's what it was about. And they pretty much blackballed him and they kicked him out. They tried to force him to take down his Facebook video and he wouldn't do it, so I think they fired him or something like that and they made a big stink about it. But fuck that guy too. He's a cop. I'm not just saying that because he's a cop. I'm saying that because it's the same thing with the Catholic Church. If you ever heard Matt Dillahunty talk about why do people still today, knowing that the Catholic Church, they have a ton of pedophile priests and they move them from place to place. They never are indicted or never charged with anything. They just shuffle them around, move them from country to country or diocese to diocese or whatever. And they all know about it. Every Catholic knows this problem exists. And they're okay with it. They still become Catholics. There's nobody's quitting the Catholic Church because of it. It's the same with the police. If you're joining a group of people, this isn't like black people that you're born into it and there's nothing you do about it. It's like you can't choose your skin color, but you can choose your profession. If you're choosing to be a cop, knowing that like they kill unarmed civilians like every day. I mean, there's so many cop killings nowadays you can't even remember them all. It's like school shootings for a while there. You remember the while back there was that guy, Daniel Shaver, I think his name was? White guy. He was on the floor. I don't know what he was being arrested for. Probably nothing. Probably just had somebody call on him because they didn't like him making noise in his apartment or whatever. The cop gives him conflicting orders. Says like, lay on the ground, don't move or I'll shoot you and I will kill you. And now come towards me. Like, what the fuck? How do you give him two different orders like that? He kept telling him that, like, cross your legs. No, crawl towards me, but don't move or I'll kill you. And he ended up killing him. He did kind of look like he was reaching into his pocket or something, but he had, like, his pants were falling off. You've got this guy so scared he's begging for his life, and they kill him because his pants are falling off. He tried to pull his pants up. So if you're ever stopped by the cops, just lay down, put your arms out, and lay flat on your face. Don't do what they tell you. Never do what the cops tell you. Just lay down until they are forced eventually to come over and not be pussies and, like, handcuff you. But if you have a gun, shoot the cop first. That's what I'm saying. You gotta kill all the cops. Don't take your chances with, like, going through proper procedure. If you're ever stopped in your car, never get out of your fucking car. Never talk to them if you don't have to. The only thing you have to do is, like, give them your license, registration, and proof of insurance. And you can do that by just handing it through a slit in the window. Never answer any of their fucking questions. If they ask you, like, if your address is correct, it's all just a ploy. They're just trying to get you to say something so that they have something they can work with. They can claim that you sounded like you were on drugs or you're intoxicated, and they have reason to pull you out of the vehicle, and then they can plant stuff in your car and then say you had drugs on you. It's all a trick. They don't want to help you. They're just revenue generators. Or they actually are racist and they're out to kill black people. Or just people that they have a vendetta against, or they're just trigger happy and they feel like shooting somebody right now. I don't know if it comes from like hiring people that are like former Iraq war vets that are they were discharged for some reason being a psychopath. Or it's the thing where like you can't hire a cop if they have an IQ that's too high and they get a lot of idiots. But they know eventually they find out that they can do stuff like that and get away with it because cops never are charged with anything. This one, I guess, finally was because they had to burn the fucking police station down to get him to charge him with something. If they hadn't done that, this guy would have been off scot-free. He would have been on paid vacation. The guy that killed the white guy that was laying down and they shot him and told him don't move or I'll shoot you. And they told him to move. The guy... They got hired back. He got fired, and then they hired him back just so he could get his pension, claim his pension, and get like $2,500 a month for the rest of his life, probably. I think the other one that was involved moved to the Philippines. Probably had a ton of money from it somehow. I don't know. If you look at the cops' salaries, like people have done searches on it, most of them, like in big cities, will make like over $100,000 a year easily. Not to mention who knows what all they're taking from evidence or seizures or... I don't know, getting paid by people for bribes. Who knows? And all of these supposed good cops know about it, and they don't do anything about it. They just stick with them. They toe the blue line. They all wear that flag with the blue line on it, which is a desecration. And you're not supposed to ever alter the flag in any way and make any changes to it. And they make it black and white, and they put a blue line on it a lot of times, and they'll stick it. It's like a gang symbol. They're a fucking gang, and they need to be wiped out. It's like murder is an illegal killing of a human being. If you're killing somebody that's strangling somebody in the public on the street, that's perfectly legal. You're saving a guy's life. Go for it. Shoot him in the head. You don't have to stand around and watch it. You can videotape it, but somebody else needs to step in and stop it. Those other three cops, like the two that were holding him down and the Asian guy that was keeping anybody from interfering, they're just as guilty. I don't know why we're just focusing on this Chauvin guy. But, this whole thing, like, wiping them all out and starting all over, that's what you got to do. I say you even got to wipe out a lot of district attorneys that let them get away with it and they never charge them with anything. All the judges that let them get away with it. Probably a lot of politicians. There's a lot of people we just got to burn out and start all over. America's pretty much fucking done. I think everybody's starting to realize it. Somebody replied, so killing solves killing, violence begets violence, and all that kind of crap. That's why we have the death penalty. The punishment for murdering somebody is the death penalty. So if everybody's complicit, all the cops are pretty much allowing it to happen. They're allowing unarmed black men to get shot. Or white men. Yeah. You gotta put them to death. You think the founding fathers would have put up with this shit? Really? We would have been like in another Revolutionary War or another Civil War. Which I think is pretty much what's going to happen. It's going to be like the citizens versus the cops. I mean, they're sending the National Guard to Minneapolis to assist, but why would they be assisting the cops? They're the ones that are doing all the crimes. Here's another thing. This is a very important point. I know you probably already turned the video off by this point, but this is a very important point. Cops never shoot anybody that's guilty. By definition, they only shoot innocent people. Think about that. In this country, you're assumed or presumed innocent until found guilty in a court of law. Therefore, if you kill a man, you have denied him his fair trial. You've denied him the court of law part of it. So he's always presumed innocent. He can't be guilty at that point. You've killed him and denied him the ever chance of him possibly being guilty because you've killed him. He was innocent from the start and he's innocent now forever because you killed him. If he was forging a check for $20 or whatever it was, he's innocent now because he didn't get to go to court and you didn't get to prove your case. You killed him. So you just killed an innocent man. And that's why you're going to jail. Well, they arrested the guy and they charged the guy. Is he going to jail? I kind of doubt it. Somebody else posted a list of all the other shit this Chauvin guy has been doing in the past. He's like shot a bunch of people, innocent guys. This is like his 5th guy he's fucking killed because of all the fucking unions and the police. What do you call it? The guy that sweeps everything under the rug. Okay, here we go. I hadn't really fact checked this, but I guess this is for BusinessInsider.com. Derek Chauvin had 16 complaints made against him that were closed with no discipline. Are they not listed them all? It's funny because I was listening to like an old Harmontown podcast today when I was mowing the yard, and they were talking about Eric Garner because I'm like years behind on my Harmontown podcast. And it's like, a lot of it is like exactly similar to what's happening right now. And then you got the, what's her name in Louisville? The woman that they did the no-knock raid and they shot the guy's girlfriend. That's really similar to the freaking Tuttle murders in Texas, where they went in and killed a guy and his wife and his dog, just mowed them all down, shooting like that's so weird down in there. They looked like the police were shooting at other police officers almost, and they killed these civilians in the crossfire, and they were at the wrong house again. How do you get the wrong house and you go in with no uniforms, and you expect people to like not shoot back at you? Like, what are you talking about? And she was a paramedic and stuff. Yeah, there's riots everywhere, deservedly so. A hilarious thing about Derek Chauvin is they were outside of his house. So, like, they kept ordering food into the house, and all the delivery people would show up, and then they would explain to them why they were outside of his house, and the delivery people would leave, and he wouldn't get his food. So, like, he was inside of his house starving, I guess. I mean, I'm sure he had food in the fridge, but you just keep him in his house until he starves to death. Fuck him. I don't really see it that much of as a race thing. I mean, I'm sure they are racist for thinking they can just kill black guys and get away with it. It's more like I hold police officers to a higher standard because they're the people that are supposed to protect us and defend the Constitution of the United States, and they take all these vows and oaths. It's supposed to be such like a decorated job, and it's supposed to be so held to a higher standard, and then they just... I've watched thousands and thousands of hours of videos of cops that have no idea about the Bill of Rights, or what our rights are, what their job is, or what the law is. They just want to make up their own laws. I had a lot of time to sit and watch YouTube videos about it, and that's kind of what I was interested in. I ended up watching enough to be an expert. 3,000 hours or something makes you an expert. I'm sure I'm well over 3,000 hours of police corruption videos. I've seen so much of it, I can't hardly find any videos on YouTube that I haven't already seen of it. I'm just sick to death of it. So, none of it surprises me. Especially like if you have a gun, that really pisses cops off because they want to always have the upper hand. They can't stand that we have the Second Amendment right to like walk around at a protest carrying guns. Like even at this protest, they had somebody shuttled off that was completely obeying all the laws, but they had a gun on them. Like they were just exercising their rights like everybody else was exercising their First Amendment right. They were exercising their Second Amendment right. They say they were getting them out of there because the protesters didn't like it, and the other like non-armed protesters were throwing rocks at them or something, I guess. But I've seen a lot of videos where they just can't stand it. They can't stand somebody else having a gun. Probably because they all deserve to die. You wouldn't be afraid of guns if you were actually a good person. You wouldn't be afraid of civilians and always think that they're up to... Anytime somebody puts their hand in their pocket, they're like, oh, you're reaching for a weapon. Why would you think that unless you've been an asshole your entire life and everybody is out to kill you? Of course you think that, because you know you deserve to die. Because you're always expecting somebody to kill you. So yeah, if you make the argument that there are good cops can't do anything to stop the bad cops because it's not really how it works, and they're in different districts or whatever, and I don't know. I just don't buy that argument. I mean, you could still choose to not be a cop. Don't associate. Why would you want to be associated with a group that's known for murdering black people and unarmed people and violating rights all day long like it's nothing, getting away with it? Like, you're so corrupt that you have... Cops have their own fucking groupies. They have chicks that they fuck while they're on duty. There's videos of it. There's videos of them sleeping in their cars. It's just, it goes on and on and on. Because they're all part of this boys club. It's the Fraternal Order of Police is almost like the KKK nowadays. Or just like some kind of secret like group or something. I don't know how they... I'm sure there's some cops that don't like other cops, but it just seems like if you got that sticker on your license plate and they let you get away with stuff and they treat people so differently. I just saw a video the other day where it was like... They were trying to serve a warrant on a sheriff. The city police and the sheriffs were kind of going at it. So the city police could show up to serve their warrant. They're here to seize a guy's cell phone because he's like charged with some corruption and shit. The sheriff hands his phone after he receives the court-ordered warrant from the judge, gives his phones to his second-in-command guy. He says, okay, you can search me, but you know the phones aren't on me because I just gave them to this guy. Like, he's trying to get around it by a technicality, and they're not standing for it, so they start calling everybody. And if it was anybody else, if it wasn't a cop, they would just arrest you and they would seize the phones. They wouldn't put up with bullshit like that. It's like if you go to somebody's house and they said, oh, I see you have the search warrant here. Hang on 1 second, let me close the door and I'll be right back. And then you go flush your phones down the toilet or something. Or you like destroy them or start deleting all the files. Like, they're not going to let you do that. But since he's a cop, he's another sheriff, they kind of pissed around and let him go into these other rooms, and the phones get all jumbled around and passed around, and who knows what all he deleted on it and shit. And then the cops tried to sneak out the back door and get away that way, and they're like, whoa, whoa, where are you going? And they actually had to stop them. Like, they thought they could just get away with it because they're fucking sheriffs. I mean, if I could just download all the knowledge I have about all the corruption I've seen, you would all agree with me. I know I sound pretty crazy right now, but I can't just tell you in a fucking 10-minute video all the shit that I've seen. Just trust me on this. They all deserve to die. In conclusion, the last thing I said on this forum, Facebook thread I was talking about, was that power corrupts. I know absolute power corrupts absolutely is a common saying, but nobody has absolute power. But power, any kind of power, eventually corrupts people. That's why the only people that should have power are people that don't really want power. And the tree of liberty needs to be refreshed from time to time with the blood of tyrants and patriots. You can't disagree with these fundamentals and call yourself an American because they're the bedrock of America. It's what we were founded on. Actually, I was talking about the presumption of innocence there too, because that's part of the Constitution. And we need to do the same thing to the police, the politicians, lawyers, and the judges that we did to the British in 1776. It's time to start over. And what better time to start over than when everybody's getting wiped out from the coronavirus anyway? I mean, a lot of this stuff we're going to be having to like make a comeback population-wise anyway. Might as well take out all the politicians and the cops. I mean, the two-party government doesn't work, obviously. We've never had a good presidential candidate since, like, I don't even know when the last one was kind of decent. Who's the last good presidential candidate we had? Al Gore, maybe? I don't know. Like, Bernie Sanders is a good candidate, but he won't make it in. Like, they always find a way to fucking corrupt it. That's why I haven't voted in, like, 20 years or something or more. I don't even... Like, there's no point in it. There's never been a good candidate to vote for. I think we're looking at the end of America. I think we need to just start over. Kill them all. Eat the rich. And the cops. Cops are the rich, actually, nowadays. How much money do they make? And people say, like, what are you going to do without cops? You have to have police, right? No. What are you talking about? When do we need cops? What do? They show up after the fact. And they kill your dog. They never actually solve murders or solve crimes. Maybe you can have a few detectives or something, but like most of this shit we can handle with our neighbors. Like neighborhood watches, like establish a few people that you know and trust to come over in the event of an emergency to help you like deal with somebody breaking in your house or looting you. But if you call the police, they're going to get there like after everything's already over. And they're just going to like make a report and they're not going to follow up on it because it doesn't make them any money. The only thing they're going to do to like actually stop crime is maybe catch a few speeders and maybe slow people down for a few minutes, but it makes the local government some money so they can buy those mine-resistant armored personnel vehicles so they can run around and shoot tear gas at you when you get out of hand in them. So, fuck them. They don't do anything. They're not useful.